Sup, ladies and gentlemen, Akalon here, and good morning to each and one of you. Happy to have you here. It is a partly cloudy morning in South Africa, and today on this uh, relatively quiet, except for the birds, so I do apologize if the birds are incredibly annoying, especially in the video, but I can't do much about that. I want to talk about boosting. Boosting has been the topic of conversation, especially over on Twitter, especially now with Quick, uh, Mike Ybarra, the Blizzard president, basically tweeting that he's gonna be streaming his boosted run, where they're basically boosting people. The community is pretty divided on the boosting issue. Now, if you've been following me for a long time, you will know that I am not a fan of boosting for various reasons, and that's what I want to talk about today. The first thing that you'll almost always hear when it comes to boosting is, doesn't affect me, bro. Why should I care? What does it mean for me? Well, the answer to that is a little bit harder than, just surface level. It's definitely not something that you can think about on the surface. You need to go deeper. In economics, we call this unforeseen consequences, right? Well, we call this, I'm not an economist, but economists call this unforeseen consequences, right? So this is when you have a policy that actually on the surface looks okay, doesn't look too bad. And then as things continue down the line, you start seeing things pop up that shouldn't necessarily have happened, but it happened because of something different, changing somewhere else. So what exactly is wrong with boosting? Well, on the surface, like I said, nothing. It's a service, and in a video game that really emulates real life in many ways, especially with social interaction, it is conceivable, even expected, that eventually players will start providing each other with services, right? Services like boosting. The auction house is another good example of players providing goods and services to other players, right? You might think, well, Akalon, yes, that's true. And so why are you riding against this? Why are you so against boosting? Well, it's for a number of reasons, and I would like to point out, before we even go further, before we talk about anything else, if it wasn't for the fact that Blizzard, the company that runs and protects this video game, that they had a financial incentive to keep this going, I don't think it would have been as big of a problem. Just the truth is, there's boosting in Final Fantasy as well. Just FYI, you go into Final Fantasy, you look at chat, you look at the group finder, and it is filled with boosting services. There's a difference though. When Yoshi P was asked in one of his most recent interviews about what they're doing to boosting, he gave a very clear and concise answer. They're busy updating their EULA and their TOS to make it illegal. Because once those things are ironclad, they can now start suspending people for selling boosts. Why do they do that? Well, the answer is simple. They have, as Final Fantasy, zero financial incentive for people to boost. They don't gain anything from it. Whereas the WoW token gives Blizzard a very clear financial incentive to keep this going. So why is it such a big issue? Well, the truth is that it's not the boosting itself that's the issue, at least not for me. Now, I'm talking for myself here, and there might be people with various other opinions on this, and maybe even more well thought out ideas around this. But for me, it's not the boosting that's the problem. I watched the recent videos from Balila, where they dive into the economy of boosting in World of Warcraft. And in the second video, he references a survey that was done by one of these boosting communities. And something stood out to me about the answers that people were giving as to why they boost, why they believe that boosting is okay, and why they buy boosts very specifically. We'll get to the people that do the boosting. For now, I'm just focusing on the people that get boosted. And one thing stood out to me more than anything else: loss of purpose. And before you think, well, yeah, what are you talking about? Allow me to explain. It feels, based on those answers, as if World of Warcraft as a game has lost its purpose. The purpose of a video game is to be played. Oftentimes, the reward in a video game is the journey. It's the physical playing thereof. A good example of this would be Witcher 3, Mass Effect, Baldur's Gate. The ending is great, sure, and it's amazing to get to that end cinematic. But really, the things that you remember is the journey to the end, right? It's the journey to the ending. It's to see that story unfold in front of you. Video games at their core is about entertainment. So when people start paying money, real money, to skip playing your video game, that in itself shows a very high level problem within your game's design. It shows that your game is just not hitting the right marks, because people would rather pay to skip playing your video game just so that they can get the rewards at the end. And this is 100% Blizzard's fault. What I don't know is if this was a calculated mistake or if this was a happy byproduct. And I do call it happy because Blizzard is making bank because of their design philosophies. The fact of the matter is, the vast majority of people find Mythic Plus boring and really just not worth interacting with. The vast majority of people find raiding boring and just not worth interacting with. The vast majority of people find the game boring and just not worth interacting with. What they don't find boring is the rewards. You see, players in World of Warcraft have been trained to care about the rewards. The game revolves around its reward structures. In many ways, everything in the game is shoehorned in to gate rewards. And one of the most egregious examples of this, and something that really helps the boosting, I asked my own community, why do they boost? And one of the biggest ones were the vault every week. Getting your vault optimized is basically a week's worth of playing. If you only have 3 hours a night, you're going to spend every single one of those hours in Mythic Plus dungeons, as well as in the raid, trying to optimize so that your vault comes out at the end of the week with good items, right? So that's really, that is a big issue. The vault is, at this point, driving, at least in my community, a lot of people to boost, because they don't want to waste all of their hours, literally all of their game hours, just doing Mythic Plus and trying to get the raid done so that they can get an optimal vault at the end of the week. The vault shouldn't exist. If the vault, right, was designed, and according to Blizzard, that's why it was designed, to protect against bad luck, right? It was supposed to be bad luck protection. So if you did the whole week Mythic Plus and you did the whole week of raiding and you didn't get the item that you wanted, you have another chance when it comes to the vault. Well, if that's your problem, reintroduce tokens, Blizzard. Introduce a currency that you get whenever you finish Mythic Plus runs, a currency that you get whenever you finish raids, and with that currency you can buy any item you want that drops from raids and dungeons. If truly your problem was to solve bad luck, but the vault as it stands is one of the biggest drivers to boosting, at least in my community, and it highlights a problem. And this is why I said, remember what I said at the beginning, boosting would not be a problem if it wasn't for the fact that Blizzard seems to have financial incentives to keep boosting going. The Vault is a great example of that. Was the Vault just a happy accident? Did they truly just design it and it happens to also increase the amount of boosting that people is willing to pay for? Or was the Vault purposefully designed to ensure that most people would boost through it? Games are meant to be played. When people start paying real money to skip parts of your game, it means that there's something wrong within your game. It means that your game isn't being played. It means that people would rather skip that to get to the rewards than having to slog through whatever game you've designed. And when you have a financial incentive to keep that going, let's make this easy. Let's use a real world example of this. Imagine you live in a city, right? And there's a part of this city, like far removed. It's like on the outskirts of the city. But the city that you live in is one of the safest cities in the world, right? Almost no murders, no crime, nothing. But on the outskirts, people are killing each other daily. Like 500 people a day die in the outskirts. It's like one of the most dangerous places to be. It's just in a neighborhood on the outskirts of town. You might make the argument, well, I don't go there, so it doesn't affect me. But would you vote for a mayor who runs a drug cartel in this outskirts suburb? No, because that would mean that mayor wouldn't have he would have a financial incentive to keep that place as dangerous as it is, because he's selling drugs there, right? And you could say, well, it doesn't affect me because I can't get there, but eventually, and most people know this intuitively, that crime and violence will start spilling into your city. Sorry, there's a helicopter going past. But eventually that will start spilling into your city, right? So you would want the police to sort that out. You would want the police to go out and fix that. The problem is that the police are the ones selling the drugs and killing the people in that neighborhood, right? That's the issue. Blizzard are the ones designing the game to increase boosting, because the more boosting friendly the game is, and that sadly means that the worse you design your video game, the more of a chore you turn your video game into, the more people will boost just so that they can get the rewards at the end, because that is ultimately what chores are. People do chores for rewards. No one does chores because they're fun, right? The whole point of video games is they're supposed to be fun. So then, why are you turning your entire video game into a chore? In Final Fantasy, I doubt that boosting, while there's a lot of people boosting or wanting to boost, I don't think there's that many people actually paying for boosts in Final Fantasy, considering the fact that most of the game is actually quite fun to play. The dungeons are quite fun, the raids are quite fun, and also I think boosting would be tougher in Final Fantasy. I don't think you're going to be able to boost someone easily through something like an extreme Coils of Bahamut, right? And it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be a game at the end of the day. But let's talk about the other side of this, right? The people who are boosting. Why do they do it? Well, according to most, and this is also the people that I've asked, gold. The problem is that the game has become so expensive to actually play. If you want to be a hardcore raider, even if you want to be a hardcore Mythic Plus player, the sheer amount of gold that you have to spend on things like flasks and potions, it breaks the bank. So for most of these players, boosting is the only way, short of actually spending real life money. Right, so actually going out buying tokens and then using the tokens to buy pots and flasks. Short of that, there's no other way. There's no way that they can do everything that is required in order to be a high-level Raider or Mythic Plus player, and also have the gold available to actually do those things. Again, this shows an extremely toxic gameplay design. Right, your game should not be so expensive that people feel forced to turn the game into a real life job just so that they can actually play the game. And the problem is, this is sort of like the snake eating its own tail. So in many ways, Shadowlands is the perfect example of this, because the more people that boost, the more gold there is in the economy. This means that demand grows, right? Supply, on the other hand, tend to be rather fixed. There's only so many people that's willing to go out and create all of these things. When you have more demand than what you have supply, and the people demanding have an endless supply of gold, what do you think happens to prices? They go up, right? And they keep rising, because that's the whole point of the economy, right? When people have more money, things are automatically going to rise in cost. So what does that mean for the average player? Well, it means that goods and services keep getting more expensive. Pots will keep growing in price, flasks will keep growing in price because there's more gold in the system. There's more gold available, and they know that they can get the money regardless of the asking price. So this means that people will have to boost more to get more gold, to buy more things, that things will go up, people have to boost more to buy more gold. It's a never-ending decay. It's a system of decay that eventually reaches a breaking point. At the end of the day, boosting in itself, not an issue. Not wrong. People can do it. Why not? But the fact that Blizzard has a financial incentive to keep boosting alive, that is the issue. That is at the core of this issue. Because it means that everything Blizzard does will be informed by this. The decisions that is made when it comes to gameplay will be informed, at least in part, as to how will this affect our economy? How will this affect the amount of money that we make? So next time you think to yourself, well, Akalon, boosting doesn't really affect me, please know that it does. It does. It might not affect you directly, but it does affect you. It means that next expansion, the game will be even more chore-like. There'll be more chores for you to do, and more rewards at the end of those chores. The vault will probably be leveled up so that you have to do even more dungeons and even more raids, and you'll get even better rewards if you do more raids and more dungeons. At the end of the day, everything affects everything else. Things are connected to one another. And just because it's not directly affecting you, doesn't mean that it won't affect you in the long run. Anyway, enough of the rambling. Remember, you can follow me over on Twitch. You can follow me over on Twitter, Discord. Here on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button if you enjoy videos like this one. If not, hit the dislike button twice. To all of the patrons and the Twitch subs, of course, and the YouTube channel members, thank you so much for your monthly contributions. It does mean the world to me. Thanks to you, this channel keeps leveling up. You create a financial incentive for me to keep making content, and hopefully good content that you guys enjoy. As always, my name is Akalon, and I will see all of you in the next one. Peace.